March 14th, 1976. Sister Mukta had a dream about me that I died and I was laying in Shuraduni's room. She says I was dead, yet I was still talking. She was scared to come in and look at me. I like this dream. It makes me very happy, if you know what I mean. Joy Ma! So, even in that early day, I didn't interpret death as death of the physical body. I interpreted death as death of this willful ego nature that keeps me from realizing my divine Lord and true divine consciousness. Okay, March 27th, 76. I had a dream last night that Dad and Joan were giving birth to babies and then killing them. Joan was my dad's companion after their divorce. They were killing them because they didn't want them. In the dream, I tried to reason with them. I felt really sad because they'd just burned one. They drowned the first one. Dad defended himself by saying, "In the beginning of my life with your mother, I was totally left out. Vedanta religion took over and I was a slave. Now I'm free to do what I want to do. I want to be free and have fun with no burdens." His eyes shone green. That was vivid. And Joan was in the background. Connecting with that dream, I walked into a room up high, and up high in a cage was a deer. I thought, I'll let it out secretively and let it run free. But when I did, it shriveled up and died. So I put it back in the cage, and it slowly came back to life. It was an odd dream. March 28th. I dreamt I could levitate and soar through the air. I even traveled great distances, like from one state to another. A baby, big, healthy baby was in my dream. I held it for a while and felt such a love and companionship towards it. My dream ended when I flew to see Sally, and there we sat and went through this book of holy thoughts and Jesus, and Sally was sharing with me what she knows. We felt so much love for each other and so close. I also had a companion flying with me. I never know who this companion is, but she's always with me. April 4th, 1976. I dreamt that I was sent back to the other ashram, but it was quite different. It was bigger, like a castle, yet older. Ma was there waiting as I came up to greet her. I bent down and held her feet and kissed them, and at that same time this love I had was so deep, but I related it to my physical mother. I felt it was her, but I had this great reverence and devotion for her as a spiritual mother. Then I stood up and started placing flowers and leaves on her head and feet and in her hands. Then she took a few and put them on my head, and then we hugged. I felt so much love and security, like a child and her mother. The rest of the dream was vague. Douglas and Gail were there, along with the others who do live there now. April 12th, 1976. I dreamt that Sally, Paula, and Jane were walking down the road. There was a lot of construction going on, too. I flew up and rose above them and went ahead to the end of the path or road. When I came down, I landed by a big, huge Jeep. So I drove down to pick them up. Then we came back to the end of the road, and it was curved to go down the road to continue. But I was now walking ahead of them and waiting for them when at the curve they wanted to stop and get something to eat. They didn't ask me to stay with them. They just said, "You go on." So I stuck out my thumb to hitchhike, and all of a sudden I realized that the beings in the cars aren't too safe, and I should be careful. But I said to myself, they always do this to me. I do remember looking up to the clouds in the blue sky and feeling that close companionship of the Lord, and I was happy about that. I had to make a strong effort to fly, and I had to dodge these big objects. In other words, I was flying, but I wasn't too far off the ground, and so I had to dodge objects that were on the ground. I had to fly around them. May 18th, 1976. I dreamt a really interesting dream last night. To begin with, we were riding in this big truck, going to see a play performed by these guys who looked dressed up like clowns. Really freaky, but far out. So we had to travel to where the show was being held. As we got to the place, I got out and had to walk up a path or a hill. It was about middle summer. I came across a big dog and made friends with him. Then a lion escorted me all the way to the top. When I came to the top, I saw a tennis court all surrounded by trees, shrubs, and weeds. A house was just about 50 feet away. I started to dance on the tennis court and was feeling really high. Then a boy came out and started telling me something about the tennis court. Then he asked if I wanted to know about the house, and he went and got his father. The father came out with a book written about the lady who once lived in this house. If I can remember correctly, he said that she died in the 1920s. Her name was something like Sorgero. But in the dream, I was getting these pangs of remembrance as if I was that lady. At the time, I started thinking in my head, if I was this lady, maybe I knew Swamiji. I felt like crying with joy. Then I said to myself, that's why the lion followed me all the way up here, to symbolize my new birth into a Leo body. Then the dream ended in the middle of this scene. But it's true. It was a New England old home with a small tennis court, and also the lady was married, and I was told and I felt certain that it was me. Because now, in this life, I have chosen to be single. Also, the lion might symbolize Mother Durga's carrier. This was written May 18th, 1976. I was perchance 18 years old, and I knew I had chosen to be single. Wow.